Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, I'm Kyle Wood, and today we're going to be learning all about fire. But before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little challenge to see if you can tell truth from fiction. Consider this. You ever been out camping, look at all the stars in the sky, and wondered if campfires are burning on other planets across the galaxy? What if I told you that Earth is the only known planet in the entire universe where a fire can actually burn? Without the right mix of atmospheric elements, striking a match on Mars or Venus would supposedly do absolutely nothing. What do you think? Is Earth really the only planet where things can go up in flames? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Today's word is pyrolysis. That's Pyrolysis. Pyrolysis is the thermal decomposition of materials at elevated temperatures in an inert atmosphere. Simply put, it's the invisible process where heat breaks down a solid fuel into gases before it actually catches fire. When you watch a log burn in a campfire, the wood itself isn't directly catching fire in its solid state. Instead, the intense heat causes the wood to undergo pyrolysis, releasing volatile gases that then mix with oxygen and ignite to create the beautiful dancing flames we see. The word pyrolysis combines two ancient Greek roots. The prefix pyro comes from the Greek word pyre, which means fire. The suffix lysis comes from lusis, meaning loosening or untying. So pyrolysis literally translates to untying by fire or loosening by fire. It's a beautiful way to describe how intense heat loosens the chemical bonds of a material, breaking it apart into the gases that ultimately sustain a blazing flame. Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about fire. Number 1. In outer space, fire actually burns as a perfect floating blue sphere. On Earth, gravity plays a massive role in how a flame looks and behaves. When a fire burns here, the hot air naturally rises while the cooler, oxygen-rich air is pulled down by gravity to feed the base of the flame. This continuous upward flow of hot air gives the flames their familiar flickering teardrop shape. But in microgravity of the International Space Station, this upward draft just doesn't exist. Without gravity dictating the flow of air, the fire radiates outward evenly in all directions. This lack of rising air current completely transforms both the shape and the color of the flame. Instead of a dancing orange teardrop, a fire in space forms a mesmerizing, steady dome or sphere of glowing blue plasma. Because the oxygen is not rushing into the fire as quickly, these spherical flames burn at a much lower temperature and consume their fuel much more slowly. Scientists actually study these perfect space flames to better understand combustion, which helps engineers design cleaner and more efficient engines here on Earth. Number 2. The color of a flame can actually show you its temperature. When we look at a roaring campfire, we usually see a beautiful mix of red, orange, and yellow flames all dancing together. These different colors act as a visual thermometer, indicating how hot the fire is burning in that specific area. Deep red flames are the coolest, although they're not cold cold at all. They're around 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. As the temperature rises, the flames transition to a bright orange and then yellow. When a fire receives a perfect supply of oxygen, it can turn blue, which indicates temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see this temperature gradient by looking at the flame on a gas stove or a candle. The base of a candle flame is often blue because it has the most access to oxygen, making it the hottest part of the fire. As the unburned soot particles rise through the flame, they cool down and emit the characteristic yellow and orange light we associate with candles. And this relationship between color and heat is how astronomers determine the surface temperature of distant stars in the night sky. Number 3. Deep beneath the surface of Australia, there's a massive underground fire that's been burning continuously for at least about 6,000 years. Located in the state of New South Wales, there's a fascinating geological site named Mount Wingan, which is more commonly known as Burning Mountain. Underneath its rocky surface, there's a massive, naturally occurring seam of coal that somehow caught fire thousands of years ago. Unlike fast-moving forest fires, this underground blaze smolders incredibly slowly, creeping through the coal seam at a rate of about 1 meter per year. Since it's sheltered from the weather and has a massive supply of fuel, neither heavy rain nor the passage of time have been able to extinguish it. While we can't see the roaring flames above the ground, the evidence of the ancient fire is everywhere in the area. As the coal burns away, the ground above actually collapses, creating fascinating sunken landscapes and deep smoking vents. The intense subterranean heat bakes the surrounding soil and rocks, turning them a vibrant red and altering the types of plants that can grow there. It holds the record for being the oldest known continuous fire on the planet. Number 4. While fire can obviously be destructive and devastating, some plants and trees actually rely on the intense heat of fire to reproduce. Certain species of pine trees, like the lodgepole pine and the jack pine, produce specialized cones that are completely sealed shut by a thick layer of natural resin. These cones can hang on the branches for many years, patiently waiting for a fire to sweep through the forest. When a wildfire finally arrives, the intense heat melts the resin, allowing the scales of the cone to easily pop open. Once the fire has passed and the ground cools, the seeds are released into a nutrient-rich, freshly cleared environment. This remarkable evolutionary adaptation, known as serotiny, ensures that new seedlings have the absolute best chance of survival. Because the fire has burned away the dense canopy above, the new seeds receive the abundant sunlight they need to grow. The fresh air left behind by the fire also acts as a potent fertilizer, enriching the soil with essential minerals. And our 5th fun fact for today, the first practical friction match was invented by accident. Before the 19th century, starting a fire was a tedious process that usually involved striking a flint and steel to catch a spark on dry tinder. In 1826, an English chemist named John Walker was experimenting with various chemical mixtures in his laboratory. He had been stirring a pot of chemicals with a wooden stick when a lump of the mixture dried and hardened on the end of his stirring rod. As he attempted to scrape the dried lump off the wood, he rubbed it against the stone floor in his lab. To his shock, the stick instantly ignited into a bright, hot flame. Walker quickly began manufacturing his matches. He called them friction lights, selling them in small cardboard boxes alongside a piece of folded sandpaper for striking. Interestingly, Walker decided not to patent his brilliant invention. He believed it was something that should be freely available to the benefit of all mankind. And on the topic of happy accidents and helping others, here's a little bonus fact for today. Dalmatians became the mascot of firefighters because they had a unique ability to calm and protect the horses that used to pull fire engines. Back in the 18th and 19th centuries, long before motorized fire trucks, heavy pumping equipment was transported by teams of strong horses. The problem was, horses are naturally terrified of fire, and rushing toward a blazing building would easily send them into a panic. Dalmatians are a breed known for their incredible endurance and affinity for horses. The spotted dogs would bravely run alongside the carriages, barking to clear the crowded city streets and guiding the horses toward the emergency. Once the fire brigade arrived at the scene, the dogs took a completely different yet equally important role. The Dalmatians would stay right by the horses' sides, comforting them and keeping them calm. They also acted as guard dogs, watching after the horses and equipment while the firefighters did their work. Even though modern fire trucks no longer require horsepower, the Dalmatian remains a beloved historical symbol of courage and teamwork in firehouses all around the world. Now for some news you can use. If you're going out camping, be sure to bring a bag of corn chips with you. If you ever find yourself struggling to get a fire started because your kindling is slightly damp, corn chips like Fritos or Doritos make absolutely fantastic emergency fire starters. All you have to do is light the edge of a single chip with a lighter or a match, and it will burn steadily for over a minute, giving your larger pieces of wood time to catch. When you light a greasy corn chip, you're actually igniting two distinct fuel sources that work perfectly together to sustain a flame. The dehydrated processed carbohydrates of the corn matrix catch fire easily because they have a low ignition temperature, providing the initial heat needed to get the fire going. As the dry corn structure burns, it generates enough intense, localized heat to begin boiling and vaporizing the oils trapped deep inside the porous chip. It's actually these vaporized oil gases that produce the bright, steady, and long-lasting flame you see. Essentially, the corn acts as the starter material to kick off the chemical reaction, while the abundant fat serves as the primary slow-burning fuel source that keeps the fire alive long enough to easily ignite your larger campfire kindling. Plus, keeping a bag of chips in your camping gear is a win-win situation. If you don't need them to start a fire, you still have a delicious snack to enjoy around the campsite. Finally, the moment you've been waiting for. At the beginning of the episode, I asked, is Earth the only known planet in the universe where a fire can burn? This one is an actual fact. To the best of our current scientific knowledge, Earth is the only planet where fire exists. Fire requires three specific things to occur: heat, fuel, and oxygen. While other planets and moons have plenty of heat and potential fuel sources, Earth is the only known celestial body with enough free oxygen in its atmosphere to sustain combustion. If you brought a lighter to Mars, which has an atmosphere made mostly of carbon dioxide, a flame just couldn't ignite. So the next time you enjoy a warm campfire, you're experiencing a phenomenon completely unique to our home planet. Now, I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about fire with me today. Be sure to tune in every weekday for even more fun facts. Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Kyle Wood. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with me. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.